our Father prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And then once you finish that up, then it goes right into what we were talking about fasting. And in chapter 6 and 18 it says, or no, chapter 17. I'm sorry, chapter 6 verse 17 it says, but thou, when thou fast, anoint thine head and wash thy face, that thou appear not unto men to fast, but unto thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. And it goes into saying, don't be like those hypocrites that are out like throwing themselves in the street all day that everybody knows, like, oh, I'm fasting, oh, leave me alone. It's a personal thing. Your walk with the Most High is a personal thing. It says that the gates of heaven is so narrow that only one person can fit through at a time.
Yeah, you want to bring that up? Where's that? That's I think it's Second Ezra's, about the fire on the one side and the water on the other. I think that is Second Ezra's. Let me see.
Let's see. Your walk is personal, is the bottom line. And the only person that's going to get you into the kingdom is you. You ain't going to be able to go into the kingdom because you holding hands with somebody that you think is righteous. Oh, that's my main man. Yeah, I'm going into heaven with him. Because right. That don't work like that, man.
Yeah, it's Second Ezra chapter 7. I'll say verse 4. It says, but put the case of the entrance where it's narrow and like a river. Who then could go into the sea and look upon it, and to rule it? And if he went through the narrow, how could he come into the board? There is also another thing. The city is built and set upon a broad field, and it is full of all good things. The entrance, therefore, is narrow, and it is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand, and on the left a deep water. So basically, that just sums it up of how this getting into the kingdom is not going to be easy. That's something that people got to get in their heads straight up. You literally at war, so you can't take this like light at all. You got to be very serious and diligent with the things that you do. So because if it's this hard to get into the kingdom, that just shows how much work that you got to put in to actually get into the kingdom, because it's like it's a balancing act. On one side you could fall into the fire, the other side you could fall into the deep water and drown. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta balance yourself out to make sure that you stay on the clear path, to get into the kingdom. And it's going to be a struggle. You know what I'm saying? But like I'm saying, what we bringing out is some essential tools that you can use that helped me a lot, and it helps a lot of people out that I learned throughout my journeys and getting into further precepts that I learned, that these things help me out tremendously once I start doing them more. And once you start following the laws even more, that's when you start getting to know and understand more about the scriptures. That's how it works. So the first thing is first. If you want to get more wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures, you gotta follow the laws. Once you follow the laws, everything is going to fall in line. You gotta do what the book say, basically. So let me see what else I could bring.
I got a precept on that.
Go ahead.
All right, this is Proverbs chapter 11, verse 20. They that are of a forward heart are abomination to the Lord, but such as are upright in their way are his delight. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not go unpunished. And the wicked does not pertain to any particular nation, because we got a portion of Israel that's wicked as well. but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. Okay? And that means there ain't no holding hands through the gates of heaven. You going one by one. You accounting for yourself. Okay? And then there's a parable after that in verse 22. It says, as a jewel of gold in a swine's snout. So a jewel of gold sitting on a nice finished wood table looks beautiful with the sunlight shining on it. But what if you put that piece of gold into a pig's snout, man? You know what? You can keep that gold, right? So is a fair woman which is without discretion. It's the same thing. A woman with no discretion that is just going wild and out in her ways. That's like, oh yeah, she fine, but she abominable because she's that piece of gold in the swine's snout. Don't nobody want to deal with that. Let that swine go about his way with that gold in his mouth or the gold in his snout.
So, I want to let's go into some laws. A lot of brothers and sisters, they probably don't know a lot of these laws, man. And in the truth, they still kind of like, they don't even be taking heed to a lot of the laws, So let's go to Leviticus, man. Let's hit that up, so you could just get a brief synopsis of what we're dealing with when it pertains to the law, so they could get whoever watching get a somewhat of a grasp of what we're talking about when, because there's certain laws that you probably don't even know that you're breaking, let me see. Start at
I found the precept for the brook, the river, and the ocean. If you want to bring that out real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, this is the book of Ecclesiasticus. Okay, this is the wisdom of the preacher, man. Solomon, I believe. Yeah, Solomon. Okay, this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 24, verse 30. I also came out as a brook from a river and as a conduit into a garden. I said, I will water my best garden and will water abundantly my garden bed. And lo, my brook became a river and my river became a sea. So that water is that knowledge that you're going to be getting. And as you stay diligent in this thing, you will start getting more and more and more and more.
Let's start at let's go to Leviticus chapter 11. Let's start there.
Good one.
Let me see, Leviticus chapter 11, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, these are the beasts which ye shall eat amongst all the beasts that are on the earth. Whosoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall not eat.
Hold on. Can I list a couple animals that have the divided hoof?
Go ahead.
You got your deer, venado. You got your cows, your bison, your beef. You got your lambs and your goats. Okay. A pig has a divided hoof, but we're gonna get into that. Okay. So far you got deer, you got cows, you got sheep and goats, lamb and goats. A horse doesn't have a split hoof. It's got one hoof. That's why you see the horseshoe just as looks like this. Okay, so you can't eat a horse. You can't eat a giraffe. You can't eat a zebra.
Alright, so let me start back at verse 3. Whosoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed and cheweth the cud amongst the beasts, that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat. Of them that cheweth the cud, or of them that divideth the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the coney, Slakia, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. The hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you.
That's right. So no rabbits, no cats, no dogs, no bats.
Right. Verse 7. And the swine, though he divideth the hoof and cloven footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean unto you. Because a lot of brothers and sisters, they be into that, that swine, man, and that bacon bits, having that pepperoni on their pizza, whatever, man,
Don't do it.
Cuts and all that.
Don't do it.
Can't do it.
They got turkey pepperonis. They got fake bacon out there. And look, if you can get yourself a piece of chicken skin and fry that joint up right, it's better than bacon.
Oh, Con, I never tried that, but yeah, man. Hey, it got turkey bacon, man. It got different types of bacon instead of pork bacon, man. You know what I mean? That, like, from my opinion, is better. It tastes better and everything. So, you can't eat pork. That's something that a lot of brothers and sisters out here, they be struggling with. I don't know how you can struggle with that, but hey.
Yeah, once you find out that it's the Lord, if you really about the Lord and you find out that that's His commandment, it shouldn't even be a struggle.
Gone. So we know we clear with the swine. Now I'll go down to
Let me hit a scripture real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is Mark chapter 16 and verse 18. They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall never recover. So if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. Okay? Yeah, a lot of the ingredients in all this food is straight poison. You got your caramel coloring, you got your sodium, potassium, benzoate preservatives and all that. That's the poison. Okay? But it doesn't say a man shall violate the dietary laws and it shall not affect his salvation. Okay? They shall drink any deadly thing and it shall not hurt them. So the ingredients of some of this food that we got to pick from out here is poison. But you still cannot violate the dietary laws of Leviticus chapter 7.
Alright. Back on to Leviticus chapter 11. I'm going to start at verse 9. These shall ye eat of all that are in the water. Whosoever hath fins and scales in the water, in the seas, and in the rivers, them shall ye eat. So they had to have fins and they have to have scales. Now, I'm not going to say, I heard certain camps or certain people be saying about, like, speaking about the tuna. Tuna, from my research, they do have scales, small scales and stuff like that. But like me, I don't think tuna is part of, have fins and scales. That's just my opinion. That's what I've been looking into. People probably think otherwise because I heard certain other people saying, talking about the tuna.
Let me tell you, I've dealt physically with a tuna before, and they do have scales. They're very fine scales, and you can rip this. It's easier to rip the skin off of them than to try to get all the scales off of them. But they do have scales, and they do have fins. As far as I know, tuna is a clean fish to eat.
Okay.
But so, you don't want to be messing with no eel. You don't want to be messing with no scallops, sea urchins, things of that manner.
Tilapia is very sketchy too. Because like people who know about tilapia, they know what I'm talking about. Like how they breed them and how they come about. There's a weird backstory with them fish. So like to each his own. It's just with me, like, I did some research and they do like I said, like the tuna, they do have scales, but they very small and very and it varies in certain places on the body. But I never really had a tuna like in front of my face that I dealt with that. I just did my research, and that's what they said. They have it in distinct places, like mainly behind the fins and behind the gills or whatever, stuff like that. So it's like, you dealt with them more, so most likely, you know more about the tuna than I do. Let me see. So let's go back to verse. Let me start at verse 10.
Hey, and it is easy. It is a lot easier if you got the fish in front of you to see if it got fins and scales. But when you're doing the research, it's tough, man. It makes it tough. But as far as I know, tilapia is all good, man.
Tilapia too? Okay.
But like a catfish, they obviously don't have no scales. A sturgeon, they don't have no scales. But you don't want to be eating no crabs. You don't want to be no lobster. You don't want to be no crawfish. Tilapia.
Yeah, I was about to go to that too. Like, okay, it basically when you go down to if you want to know about the dietary laws, you can start at Leviticus chapter 11, work your way down, and it breaks it down. What's clean and unclean for you to eat. So let's just wrap that one up. Because matter of fact, let's just keep going because it got some more good stuff up there, right?
Well, you want to jump back to prayer a little bit? You know what?
Yeah. But the thing I was talking about with the prayers, like, they gotta follow the laws first. You get what I'm saying? So
right.
Like, they gotta know the laws to follow the laws for their prayers to not be heard. You know what I mean? So it's certain things that I was thinking about bringing out for them to be like just to give them a brief, give them some brief laws so they could go and where they could locate it at, so they could start repenting and start dealing with and following the laws so their prayers can get heard. So yeah, we could go back though, but I think we should just finish with just pulling out a few more laws and then we go back to the prayer. Because
all right, let's get it.
Laws, prayer is essential. See. Now I'll go start at verse 10. And all that have fin. I read that. It's lucky. I'll go to verse 11. They shall be even an abomination unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, but ye shall have their carcasses in abomination. Whosoever have no fins nor scales in the water, that ye shall be an abomination unto you. And these are they which ye shall have an abomination amongst the fowls, that they shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle, and of the ostrich, and of the osprey, and the vulture, and the kite after his kind, every raven after his kind, and the owl, and the nighthawk, and the chuckle, and the hawk after his kind, and the little owl, and the corsmac, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the gear eagle, and the stork, and the heron after her kind, and of the lapwing, and the bat. That's something that we all know about that right now.
Yeah, and that doesn't even fall in the categories of the bird, but they put that in there as the bat, man, because that's a mammal. Them other things are birds.
Birds, that's crazy. Yeah,
and look, what do all those birds have something in common? They're either meat eaters, as where they eat fish, mice, and little other animals, or they're scavengers, which they eat dead carcasses. So you can't make a 6-piece out of a buzzard. You can't make a 6-piece out of a hawk or an eagle. You can't eat them things. Yahweh has a different purpose for them rather than to be your food.
Yeah, well, a lot of them, Moabites out there, man. And a lot of, matter of fact, that's the reason why they be, a lot of them diseases tend to be coming up out of their nation. You know what I'm saying? But it's a huge controversy dealing with the origins of that. But from what I heard, they were saying it was from a bat, whatever. In a laboratory, who knows? But when
it's coming out, man. The truth is coming out about where that all came from, man. They got the patents and all that.
Yeah. So more, them the Moabites and them Gooks, man, they be dealing a lot with eating all these abominable foods, man, and they just be messing up everything, man. So let me continue. Leviticus chapter 11, verse 20. All the fowls that creep going upon all four shall be an abomination unto you. Yet these may ye eat of every flying creepy things that going upon all fours, which have legs above their feet to leap withal upon the earth. Even these of them ye may eat. The locust after his kind, the bald locust after his kind, the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind. Okay.
I got a precept to Moab.
Go ahead.
And the dirty abominations that they eat. Okay, this is Psalms chapter 108 and verse 8. Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine. Ephraim also is the strength of my head. Judah is my lawgiver. Verse 9. Moab is my washpot. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. And if you'll notice in Psalm 83, the nations that are in confederation against Israel to try to keep them out of remembrance who they are: Edom, Moab, Ishmael, continuing on, Hamites. Okay, Moab is my washpot. That's it.
That's it. All right. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 11. Chapter 19, because basically the dietary laws, like I said, you go from Leviticus chapter 11 all the way down, and it just breaks down all the laws with the things that's clean and unclean for you to eat. Now I'm going to start at Leviticus chapter 19, and Moses spoke unto And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the congregation of the children of Israel, saying unto them, You shall be holy, for I am your God, am holy. You shall fear every man his mother and his father, and keep my Sabbath. I am the Lord your God. Turn ye not to idols, nor make yourselves molten gods. I am the Lord your God. And if ye offer a sacrifice of peace offerings unto the Lord, you shall offer it at your own will. So basically, this is something dealing with honoring your mother and your father, and basically don't idol worship anything. Don't create something. Don't like a molten image or something, because a lot of our ancestors, they went off that way. They went off worshiping other gods, creating idols, and that's something that Israel been dealing with for a long time now.
And look,
going on and worshiping other idols.
And look, modern day,
go ahead.
You gotta watch out, because in the scriptures it talks about idol worships being little gold statues and fire offerings to Molech and things like that. But like today, the society needs to trick you into idol worship. So you got to look at your superstars, your pop stars, your rap stars, your NBA stars, your TV shows, your TV, all together, your car, There's so
Lucky,
many
your
things that,
money.
that could be considered an idol that you might not know is an idol. You gotta be careful with that. Is all I'm saying.
A lot of people, like they like to worship money. The money is their idol. Money is everything to them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, once you get into the truth, man, you can't be on that, man. You gotta let that type of stuff go. So let me see. It shall be. Let me see. It shall be eaten. This is verse 6. It shall be eaten the same day ye offer it, and on the morrow it be ought to remain until the third day. It shall be burnt with fire. See, let me go down to. Okay, it was something I wanted to go there. All right, let's start at verse 9. No, that's Slakia. Just start at verse 11. Ye shall not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie on one another. Ye shall not swear by my name falsely, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. So there's a lot of people, like for example, a lot of Muslims, a lot of people that be in these false religions, man, that they be blaspheming, and speaking falsely about the Bible, about the word, about the prophets and all, like once you start getting in the truth, all that gotta go. That's something that you gotta cleanse yourself up out of. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta really like understand what you're dealing with, so you won't you won't fall into these categories.
Right, and that whole thing with Islam and Israelites following along with Islam or Moorish American Moabite and all this nonsense, that's a whole nother lesson we can get into, which might even be our next lesson. But it's madness, man, because Israelite, the seed line of Jacob, the seed line of Israel, has a heritage here. Not a religion that was made up by Ishmaelite in confederation with an Edomite. Okay, and I don't even know where the hell this Moabite thing came from with the Moorish Americans, man, but Moab is the sons of Lot. And how was they all conceived, man? You not the sons of Lot. Salakia, I'm sorry. Let's continue on with this lesson, man.
Yeah, so basically this right here is basically is to sum it all up right here. And this chapter right here is about loving your brother, loving thy neighbor, and that correlates with the commandments. Like basically, like this is the laws, this is the commandments, but it's a breakdown of it about like strategic things. But you could just sum it up about loving your brother. Because if you love your brother, you ain't gonna steal from your brother. If you love your brother, you ain't gonna try to have sex with his wife. You ain't going to be doing these things. You ain't going to be lying to your brother. You ain't going to be doing these things, and that's essential. You ain't going to steal from me. It's a whole bunch of this. This basically sums all that up. So it's something else that I wanted to bring up. Salaki, I want to just make sure I got it real quick, because where is it about baldness, like cutting their beard and all that? Cause a lot of people. Here it go.
Is that in Numbers?
No, it's here. Leviticus chapter 19. We'll start at 27. You shall not round the corners of your head, neither shall you shall mar the corners of thy beard. You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. Tattoos, can't get any more tattoos, man. And plus, like, getting rid of them, like the laser thing, anything that, going piercing the skin, can't get no more tattoos. Now,
and once you get them, you stuck with them. Look, I got one of basically Satan right there, man. A little Grateful Dead skeleton, man. I can't get rid of that. I gotta deal with that. But once I repented and moved on, it's like it's not even there, man.
Yeah, so The other thing, like the men can't cut your beard, man. Like you can't bald your head, bro. It's like yo, you. I'm not saying that you can't really like, you know, you know, make it look decent, whatever. But cutting it clean, cut the chin strap going on, the Method Man, whatever. Nah, that can't happen no more. You can't
well,
get
look,
them Jordan.
look in the movies how they always made like the Egyptian pharaoh look. He always was like clean shaven with a bald head. It must be some kind of other worship of some other god or idol that has people shaving their heads and beards like that, make them all smooth like that. It doesn't seem natural to me at all.
Well, you got they this is the time when they just came out of the land of Egypt and they was dealing with all that madness. You know what I'm saying? So this was just these are laws that they had to get to clean themselves out of dealing with that
to
madness.
Bring them out of Egypt, man.
Bring them up out of Egypt, yeah. So it's like, yo, like a lot of these things that it was laws to to cleanse us from dealing with a wicked nation of people that we was ruling under, the unclean people. So it's like now we got these laws, we gotta follow them. So like brothers, like I said, you can't shave your beard, you can't bald your head, you can't get any tattoos, you can't eat pork, you know what I mean? You can't eat like eels and what else?
Squid, scallops.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and what they got at all the weddings these days? Bacon wrapped scallops on the hors d'oeuvre trays, man.
Yeah, man, that's madness, man.
And weddings is a whole nother thing. We could do a whole nother lesson on that, man.
Oh yeah, you know what? Let me go back here, man. Like, because I think we need to bring this one out too, man. This is crazy right here. Let me see what it was at. I just seen. Let me see. It's right here. This is verse 29. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 29. Do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore. Lest the land fall into whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. That's something like, come on, man.
Yeah, and people wonder. A lot of these dudes. People wonder how we got to the point where we at today. People wonder why we at the point we at today, man. It's because everybody done prostituted their daughters out, man.
Yeah, man, you gotta think about it. Like, when it comes to the music industry, to you not even being in your child's life, your daughter's life, and she probably need a father. Now she don't have a father. Now she out in the streets. Now she's looking for that father figure. And her mom bringing in another dude, and the dude probably come on, you can't be doing that. These things is essential, man. That's just something that will bring start healing us as a people, because when you do it in reverse, you start peeping out all the laws and stuff that we dealing with. I mean, the stuff that we bringing out, and look at all the stuff that we dealing with as a nation of people. These laws is the very thing that can heal all the things that we dealing with, on a day-to-day basis. Treating your brother, with kindness, meekness,
charity.
Yeah, just being kind to your brother. Being in your child's life. Don't prostitute your daughter. Don't be wicked. Don't eat pork. That's that. Now you want because we number one in all types of the sicknesses coming from the stuff that we eat. We like diabetes, heart disease, all these things because of our diets. We got a dietary law right here.
You're right. North Carolina #1 in heart disease because of all the swine, man.
Yeah, man, you gotta think about that, man. But another thing I was saying, like once you start following the laws, ain't gonna be less money on that Arab corner store that's selling our people poison. You know what I'm saying? Selling our people Newports and blunt wraps and a whole bunch of madness in them stores. Now they start to lose money because you gotta understand that this whole society is designed and built off of our destruction. They make money and profit off of us being destroyed. So a good example is that once our sisters start loving their hair, the hair that comes out of their hair, just imagine how much money that the more, these groups, how much money they will lose, from just our sisters start loving their own hair.
Yeah, they would have to close up shop, man. They would have to close up shop.
They would have to close up shop. Brothers stop going to jail because they stop wilding out and they stop wilding out in the streets and start following the laws. So the prison industrial complex started to get compromised because now, their money is starting to dry up. Now, dudes stop smoking. Dudes stop, smoking weed. Now that Arab corner store start drying up. They start seeing less people in there. You start eating better. Stop eating all that poison and all that candy that's in there. Now we started to be better people, and they starting to crumble as a nation.
Right, so that's just the lottery.
Exactly. So it's like, yo, man, once we start doing all these things, that's when these nations, these people that's in power, going to start losing their power. You understand? So it's like, that's something that's real important when we're talking about with the laws. And the laws is another thing, a good line of defense to defend you against these spirits that's out here that you're going to be coming up against. Once you go, because that's their job. That's their job to try to take you off course. That's the job of these evil spirits, these demons, to keep you in error. So the good line of defense is to try to stay in the laws and to learn them and try to make sure you follow them to the best of your ability. Because this is the light, like Deuteronomy chapter 4 said. This is the light. This is the law is light. So when you're in darkness, this is your salvation right here. So learning the laws is a key to a good weapon. 2, another good weapon is prayer. Prayer is very essential, man, because it's certain things that like the brother brought out. Like it's certain laws that we're in the land of our enemy right now. That certain laws that we just can't keep. So we are the grace right now under Yahushua. So at that point, we gotta pray. We gotta pray and ask the Most High for forgiveness for these sins that we can't currently keep because we're in the land of our oppressor.
I got a precept on the prayer.
Go ahead.
I got a precept on the prayer here. This is there is much power in your prayer. And the number one power that you have in your prayer is being humble and just asking for that mercy, asking for that guidance, asking to get kept on that narrow path, okay? And everything you pray for, whether you be convincing your heart or not, or whether you are convincing your heart that you're following the right path, you can pray for something. It might not always come, because the Lord's will is the Lord's will for you. So you can be, and I have a precept right here. It's Luke chapter 22 and verse 42. I'm going to start at 41. Okay. And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's cast. Meaning Yahushua separated himself a little bit from his people, and he kneeled down and prayed. And this was right before he was about to get taken into, the bondage that led him to the cross, ultimately, which was the death sentence in those times, the cross. Okay. Verse 42 saying, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. So Yahushua knew what was coming down the line, and he went ahead and prayed to get that cup taken away. Like, he didn't want to have to go through all that suffering, but he also knew that it's the Lord's will. So you can be praying and praying and praying for something, but you also have to understand, if that something doesn't come, that's the Lord's will. So don't think that you're going to come in the truth, start praying, your prayer is going to be answered. We're dealing with the Lord's will here.
Exactly. That's a good point right there.
So don't get discouraged when your tool doesn't work properly, because you're dealing with the Lord's will.
I'm going to bring out another thing about prayer. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 4. Every man that prayeth or prophesieth, having his head covered, dishonor his head. But every woman that prayeth or prophesies with her head uncovered, dishonor her head. For that is for even all one, as if she was shaven. She was shaven, Slakia. For the woman be not covered, let her also be sworn. But it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. So that's something that people need to take heed to too. You know, like when you pray, you know, like we brought out earlier, you know, this is just a precept component, like a precept with it. It's like when you pray, when the men pray, you have to pray with your head uncovered. You can't have your fitted on. You can't have a scully on. You can't have that do-rag on. You gotta make sure your head's covered. You know, women gotta make sure you got your head covered. You know, you can't have your head all. You know, just it's easy. It's not even hard to do. You know, a lot of times, a lot of women naturally, sometimes when they're in the house, whatever, they cover their heads. Before, you know, cover your head, man, and just, you know, pray. These are things that it's not. It shouldn't be a burden onto you, because it's not really that hard to do. You know, it's other things that will probably be more of a burden, but certain things that it's not even hard to do. Y'all should be able. Most people, Lord willing, should be able to just do it. Like,
I got something for
cover
you,
your
Ak.
head. It's simple.
Don't
cover your head. Simple.
I got something for you, Ak.
Go ahead.
Okay, in that scripture, that word in 1 Corinthians 11 and 4, that word covered goes back to, I got the Strong's Concordance here. It goes back to a Greek word, 2596, and that word is kata. And it means down from, throughout, according to, toward, along. And then the definition is down in a varied relations, which is joined, about, after, against, alone, among, apart, side. I'm not going to get into everything, but it mainly is saying down. Kata is the Greek word for down. So I from what I've studied here, down, covered means down. And you look at some of these religions, and even in church, what do they tell you? They say bow your heads. What does the Islam do? They bow their whole body down with their face down toward the ground. So, you know what I mean? It's, to me, this is telling me Israel is supposed to have their face up and their head up. It doesn't necessarily, like, literally, the King James translation says covered. But you go back to that Greek word, it means down. So that's why the church says bow your heads. That's why Islam got their whole body down. And that's why you get into these different meditations. People got their heads down like this, man. We're supposed to be up here to our Father, man, because his seat is in the north. His seat is up in the center of the firmament at the peak. That's where his throne is. Kata.
So break it down. Like basically is not necessarily saying to have your head covered. It's basically saying to bow.
It's not. It's saying don't bow. It's not saying. It's not saying anything about an actual head covering.
Okay.
It's talking about kata means down. There's another word for up in Greek. I can't remember what it is off the top, and I don't know if I can find it real quick. But kata, like.
Okay, so just let me go back and just say it what it's saying, like with the definition. So I'm gonna start with 1 Corinthians.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You
okay.
Go ahead.
Every man praying or prophesying, having his head down, dishonoreth his head. So everybody that's in the church that put their head down to pray and bows down to pray, you know, you looking at the wrong, you praying to the wrong place.